And so Brigham Young has been able to come in here and make them actually work for that conference spot.
And speaking of those Cougars, Tyler Thatcher having a great year. He's had some strong meets this year.
He has a lot of great meets. He's actually been called Mr. Consistency. So let's see if he can bring that consistency to the conference meet this year.
And then for the Portland Pilots, they've got a great duo, Woody Kincaid and Scott Fauble.
Scott Fauble, great runner. Let's see if they can actually get together, maybe pack run, get it up in the top 10 this year.
You've run this course. You went to Pepperdine. You know it well. What's the biggest challenge out here?
The biggest challenge, I think, is keeping those loops. We actually go 5 loops this year in the course, and so you got to be able to climb that hill over up the theme tower and then pull it back around. Then you open it up on that stride going downhill towards the Pacific Coast Highway.
Should be a great day of racing here at Malibu. The 2013 West Coast Conference Cross Country Championships from Pepperdine right here on the W.TV.
I'm happy with where we're at right now.
The W.TV, the energy of the West Coast Conference on your browser, smartphone, and tablet. All the action, anytime, anywhere.
We give back as much as we receive to our teammates, our coaches, to our fans, and to our sports. To our teachers, our schools, and our communities. Giving back, it isn't just something we do, it's who we are.
Joy Carr, Professor of English and
And the team's going through their final warm-ups here at Alumni Field on the campus of Pepperdine University in Malibu. George Devine, Seth Allison back with you for the 2013 West Coast Conference Cross Country Championships. Let's meet the third member of our broadcast team, and Amanda Blackwell.
Thanks, guys. Well, I do want to tell you about some of the unforeseen obstacles of this race already, and that was just getting everyone here yesterday after the horrific events that happened at Los Angeles International Airport. Obviously, first and foremost, our thoughts are with the victims of that awful incident, but I do want to let you know how it affected some of the team's travel plans, because that could have some bearing on the outcome of this race. BYU and Santa Clara both were diverted away from LAX. BYU had to fly into Ontario. They got to practice in the LA area before driving out here. They actually had to fly in 2 separate groups. The women drove straight from there. It took them almost 3 hours to get here, so neither team got to their hotel till about 9 o'clock last night. Santa Clara had to fly into John Wayne International Airport in Santa Ana. They also drove. They got to practice in the LA area before getting here, so neither team practiced at this course yesterday with the rest of the teams, but I talked to them. They said they're feeling good, they're ready to go, and they're just happy they made it here.
Yeah, and Amanda, to echo your thoughts, our thoughts and prayers with everybody at LAX yesterday about the horrible events that happened. And we move on to cross country here this afternoon. Take a look at this course map, Seth, and what are the challenges on this 8K map?
First of all, the downhill is going to be pretty tough. Make sure that they don't go too fast going down, because it's a pretty thick downhill all the way down through the stick tree hill, because there's a couple of stick trees down there. you go all the way down to the Malibu Canyon Road, and that's pretty good and even until you start going up towards the theme tower, and that's probably the hardest hill that they've got to capture. And they do this 5 times, so every time they go up this hill, it's a pretty steady climb. Then you go around the lake, and then you have this small downcline on a road up until you go up to the Banowski Boulevard, all the way back to where they get to the start, and that's a slow incline as well. Then just about when you round the start corner, you go back down again.
And our course today is going to be a mixture of grass and dirt surfaces.
The dirt and the grass actually have a lot to contribute to the way you run and the way your stride is. The grass is actually very thick and very deep, so it takes a little more to lift up your knees and get over this.
So there you get a look at the course, as the rolling hills here in Malibu, I think, will play a little bit of a role today.
It is a beautiful place.
Yeah, and certainly scenic. I mean, this is a Chamber of Commerce day in Malibu. I mean,
That's it. The sun is out. The birds are chirping. It is a great day to run and a great day to chill out and watch runners.
And sometimes, here in Malibu, you can get some marine layer influence, and especially in the mornings, a little fog. None of that today.
No, none whatsoever. It's clear, crystal clear.
And get a look at the starting line. A very wide starting gate here, Seth. It's almost that instead of runners bunching up, almost everybody can have their own little spot along the line.
They do. They have a pretty long way to go until you get around the corner. Once you start getting that downhill, it starts to narrow out right before you have to turn a sharp corner. So they have their time to get into a place before they have to get into a line of sorts.
And here's how it works. Each team has 9 runners. The top 5 runners, top 5 finishers count toward the team score, and the team points are determined by placing, and the lowest point total wins. Last year, BYU and Portland decided by 1 point.
Only 1 point. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, in fact, it was Portland 32, BYU 33, and then Gonzaga at 103.
It's supposedly going to be pretty tight this year as well. Portland is actually ranked number 6 in the nation. BYU's ranked number 5. So they are neck and neck. One of probably the biggest competition is each other in this conference meet, as well as in regionals and then nationals.
And they've already run against each other a couple times this year, once in Utah and once in Wisconsin.
They did. And in Wisconsin, I believe BYU ended up losing to Portland. Is that correct?
I think BYU won both.
Oh, BYU
finished ahead in both,
okay.
yeah.
Wow, okay. So let's see if they can do that at the conference meet. They are ranked above Portland.
And we're waiting for the starter's pistol here in Malibu. A little bit of a grade coming up the hill out of the starting gate, not much. The grass here is almost packed like the fairway of a golf course.
Certainly is.
And you see the runners taking their marks, and there's the gun, and we are underway. The 2013 West Coast Conference Men's Championships.
Cross Country Championship race.
And so right now the runners just getting out on the course, and they're still kind of in their groups. You see the purple of Portland, the green of San Francisco, the red of Santa Clara staying together.
Certainly is. They'll probably try to keep it together up until that turn.
Gives us with the 5th and 6th ranked teams in the country.
So there we see the runners. Good crowd here this afternoon, or this morning. A lot of places for folks to line the ribbons along the course.
And it's also a really good spectator course for any individual. If you stand up on the top of the hill, you can almost see the entire course as they go around their 5 loops.
One of the things I like to watch at the Cross Country Championships are how the people, you call them on a racetrack the railbirds, how they move around. In the course of the event, just checking out all the different spots, and they probably move as much as some of the runners do, it seems.
It does get pretty exhausting.
So we see the BYU Cougars out there in the front right now. But a lot of race to go here. I mean, this is, several times around.
Yep.
And a lot of changes in the course. So we're probably going to see some changes up at the front.
It looks like they've got it pretty mixed up. There's BYU. There's also Portland up there. Big chunk of Portland still up in the very, very front.
I was reading that Tyler Thatcher won a race this year by a half step. So, this could go down to the wire.
Most certainly could.
How about the pace right now, Seth? What are you seeing?
I'm seeing everyone kind of keeping it chill. They're starting to climb up that uphill, so they've got to they've got to be able to keep control of what they're doing. They've rounded about that first hill, so they're coming back down the opposite way. They'll end up taking this turn, and it has a slow downhill, but they hit the gravel, so that's going to be a change of terrain.
That seems like a pretty significant change.
It is. Sometimes it gets pretty slippery if you take a wrong step, so they're about to hit that right now here.
I think a lot of these runners, speaking of traction, last year up in Portland, they ran in basically mud and slush.
Certainly. At Crystal Springs, I remember running that 4 years, and it was sometimes horrendous depending on how wet it was and how the weather was prior to the event. It sometimes got super slippery.
Yeah, it's been very dry in California so far this fall.
Which is a good thing, because this course, when it gets wet, it gets muddy and it gets slippery, and it's mass chaos. So that grass doesn't turn into grass; it turns into some quicksand, really.
Yeah, a lot of places to slip and slide.
But today it's clear. The grass is grass. Gravel is a dirt road here. They're about to hit the dirt road right now, actually. They've rounded the pond. Here they are. Looks like BYU's still up there. A couple of Portland sprinkled in.
Yeah, BYU sent, last couple years has sent a strong group to the front, and they stayed out there for most of the race.
Mm-hmm. They like to be front runners, taking control.
Cougars came into the conference back in 2011 after many years in the Mountain West. Portland is looking for its 34th championship in 35 years. I mean, that's a super dynasty. I mean, in current college sports, it is the biggest dynasty.
Whenever I was competing, it wasn't even a competition. We knew Portland would always win.
And the runners coming back toward the starting line area.
They're about to round that corner.
And we're actually located up by the starting line area here at Pepperdine.
They're rounding all the tents.
And you might see some of the women's student athletes getting ready for their race, which will get going in about an hour.
Coming in. Looks like Thatcher is still up at the front.
Yeah, Thatcher and Witt up at the front. And there's a pretty thick group of Portland runners, about maybe 10 spots back from the lead.
Yeah, they still pretty packed in there, pretty good. Trying to hold on.
Is there anybody, we've talked about Thatcher, we've talked about Falbo and Kincaid. Is there somebody else in this race that maybe we've overlooked, or, other folks have overlooked?
It looks like, there certainly are. I don't have their full names right here, but it's interesting to see how BYU has quite an older team. A lot of them go on their missions, and so they come back 2 years later. That's not necessarily a great thing for them, because sometimes on their, church missions they don't get to compete as much. They definitely don't get to compete, but they don't get to train as well. So they kind of take a time off, a year or 2 years off, and they get back into it. Thatcher's been able to do very well in getting right back into where he left off, and training and getting his mileage back up to where he needs to be to compete at this conference meet.
Now, there are some people who might say a 23 or 24-year-old man might be a better athlete than a 20 or 21-year-old man.
But it really all depends on how many miles you've put in. If you've taken 2 years off, then you could be just as far back as, a 15-year-old man.
So there you see the runners as they move over the grass. Just every time we take a look at this course, I'm just struck by the beauty of this campus.
It is a look to be looked, and you got to be careful and not stare off into the ocean instead of keeping your pace and your time.
So BYU still with a strong presence up at the front, as we get a good look at the runners.
Got a Gonzaga up there as well.
So at the 1 mile mark.
So 1 mile in.
BYU was leading. They have a low of 31 points. Portland 61 points.
So it's BYU and Portland and Loyola Marymount out at the front right now in terms of the team scoring. Each runner wears a little tag on their shoes, and that eliminates a lot of the chaos in the scoring.
It certainly does. They have it all digitized so they know exactly whenever it goes over. As soon as your foot steps over it, they got your time. And they have spots all throughout the race, so they have your K marks.
Named Conference Runner of the Month in September for BYU.
And let's check out what's going on with Amanda Blackwell.
Hey guys, speaking of those shoe chips, I just found out that a runner is running without a shoe. They found one on the course that has a tag on it. That's number 107, Adam Smith from San Francisco. They found his shoe and his tag sitting on the course, so I can't see him right now, but maybe you guys can. I don't think he's wearing a shoe out there, guys.
Harkening back to Zola Budd, the great runner from South Africa, represented the United Kingdom in the 1984 Olympics, not too far from here at the LA Coliseum.
I'm not sure if he was purposefully meaning to leave his chip behind, though.
Now, what I want to know is he going to go for a pit stop and, if they can, hey, here's your shoe.
There's no way. That'd take way too much time and energy. I think he's just going to have to take it and go.
You might be at the point, one shoe on, one shoe off. You just might want to throw the other shoe off and even it out.
It certainly does happen, that's for sure.
There you see one of the dirt portions of the track. Looks like a pretty hard course to run on out there.
It is. That hill that we just saw actually is fully gravel, so if you don't watch yourself, you can slip, especially if you're trying to press it up that small little incline.
Another turn back toward the top here in the starting line. The team assembly area near the starting line, and the Cougars looking strong and still up there.
They've still got their two front runners, Thatcher and Witt, up there.
Yeah, Thatcher and Witt had a strong run at the BYU Autumn Classic in Provo.
They're really working together here.
Weston Strum is up there from Loyola Marymount. Runner that I've been kind of watching, he had a good finish last year at Portland, is Rajpal Panu of St. Mary's. He's kind of been the star the last couple of years for the Gales.
He certainly has.
Has the fastest 8K cross-country
time. And we're starting to see the field kind of widen out a little bit.
Yeah, everybody's kind of dispersed. They're trying to keep it together. You can see a couple of teams. LMU is still trying to keep together runners, and so is Gonzaga. They've got 2x2 every now and then. You can see they're trying to work together.
This is the point in the race where you really see maybe the 20 or 25 top runners really separate.
Mm-hmm. They kind of bring that distance, that visible distance.
We've got that solid pack of 5 up in the front, setting a pretty strong pace this morning.
Looks like BYU's starting to fall. They had those 2 front runners there.
Now, is this a pace they can keep for the rest of the race?
They definitely will keep a pace very similar to this. I think their last mile, depending on how they run it as a team, will probably be picking it up a bit. But as far as cross country goes in the conference meet, it looks to be, a pretty consistent pace. They've just finished their 2 mile, I believe. Are about to hit that. Or no, they hit that a while ago. They're rounding about another loop around the lake.
Yeah, the lakes are pretty low right now. There has not been a lot of rain around here. There's water in them.
There's water.
Yeah, we got a look at the front runners. I'm really impressed with the spectator turnout today.
There are a lot of people.
Number of these teams went to the NCAA Far West Preview in Sacramento. Sacramento State ran that tournament recently, and that was one of the places where they squared off. Some of them went to the Adidas Wisconsin event in Madison. Others, as we mentioned, met at the BYU Autumn Preview. And a lot of these West Coast Conference squads ran a preview race here back in September, kind of a dress rehearsal for today's event.
It is. But not every single person on each team runs every single race that their team does. So each individual has a certain amount of races they like to run. The only exception to that is Thatcher. He's actually run nearly every single race that BYU's ran this year. Which is not very common in NCAA runners.
And saw Jason Witt out there toward the front.
Looks like he pulled around.
Your leader is
and he's
Jason
getting pushed
Witt,
pretty well
followed
by Weston Strum.
Eric Causey.
And Eric Causey of San Francisco and Scott Fauble of Portland right up there at the front.
And Tom Grunwald. So BYU has 3 in the top 6. Willie Milam is running in 7th.
So now we're seeing even more separation. That was a pack of 6 at first and then a pack of 5. Now we're down to a pack of 4 up at the front.
It is. We'll see if Thatcher can pull it back up and get back to that group.
A lot of ground to cover, though.
They still have a long ways to go.
It's funny, this morning I was leaving the hotel where all the teams were staying about 6:30, and there were athletes running in the parking lot in total darkness. They're very anxious to get ready for today. You see Witt.
It's certainly true. A lot of runners like to get up really early and get their legs moving, make sure that they're all nice and warm before they're even ready to warm up.
You know, we really haven't talked about the weather a whole lot. It's about 60 degrees, nice breeze. Are these pretty much perfect conditions?
You couldn't really ask for any better conditions. The wind's not blowing very much. There's enough sun to keep you, fresh, but it's not blazing by any means.
By Thatcher and Grunwald, Milam, Panu, Flint, Kincaid.
So there we get a look at one of the tougher spots on the course.
If you're not ready for that small incline, it can sometimes just really kill you. This right here is a great downhill for you to open up and open your stride and just let go.
Yeah, you made a good point earlier that sometimes going downhill, the biggest challenge is kind of control your momentum.
It's certainly true. If you go down too fast, you can sometimes blow your quads and it can get incredibly tiresome just plowing down those downhills. Once you start trying to climb the uphill, you're already toast.
Witt opening up pretty good lead right there.
So,
and at that last loop, the scoring,
see if he can hold that.
BYU has 32 points and Portland has 61. BYU currently with 32 points.
So BYU with a big lead on the points board right now compared to Portland.
A huge lead. That's crazy.
I don't know if that's a closable gap.
It may not. It very well may not be. But again, when it comes down to sometimes that 4th and 5th guy and how well they do. So if one of their 4th and 5th guy drops back, we're seeing a lot of these front runners, but when the 4th and 5th guy drops back, that can sometimes increase a team score by 10, 20 points.
So Witt with just a little bit of company up front. Getting a pretty good push right there from Weston Strum, and Fauble's been up toward the front today. So we've got 3 front runners and then a pretty good gap back to about the next 3, and then a pretty sizable distance to the rest of the pack. Get a look there at one of the lakes.
Looks like Witt keeps trying to lose those other 2 guys, but they keep catching back up to him.
Be interesting to see as we move on in the race, can Witt hold this pace?
Jason Witt running for the Y.
And he just looks very relaxed right now.
He does look very strong.
Eric Causey, just a sophomore.
I mean, the sunglasses help that look.
Certainly does, but it's not a bad day to wear sunglasses. It is very bright.
You'll also see
And Eric Causey from San Francisco is up there.
He's a junior for the Pilots. He is running in third.
So Scott Fauble right now third. He was the runner-up last year in last year's race. I think one of the things that's really exciting about this race, you look at the top 10, 7 of the top 10 men's runners that ran last year are running today.
Yeah, they've got a healthy return, that's for sure. That's why it's so close with BYU and Portland and such similar teams.
It's Steve Flint.
So Witt with a little less of a cushion up at the front. He finished 6th last year with a time of 23:57.14. His teammate Jared Ward won it with a time of 23:41.56, and Ward has since graduated from BYU.
Mm-hmm.
Again, all 5 BYU runners in the top 11 right now.
Here's that small incline.
A dominating performance for Olympian Ed Eyestone's BYU Cougars.
The Cougars with a strong showing.
Jason Witt, Scott Fauble, and Eric Causey.
Eric Causey of San Francisco up in the front too. And we look at the next group behind them.
So they'll have one more lap.
One more lap to go.
They'll go to the finish
and they'll head toward the finish line.
Continuing on their lap. One more loop for our leaders.
This last loop could kill some of these guys, though. It's such a long loop.
What are you feeling right now? If you're not, let's say, out at the front, you're in, let's say, that next group, maybe, 7th to about 20th place. What's going through your mind?
I think it's keep that pace. Keep that pace. You got to finish out strong. I think right now you're just concentrating on this small uphill that goes towards the trees, because once you finish that uphill, it's pretty much a downhill until you climb that small upclimb until you get to the finish.
And I know one of the features of this course was they did take out some of the hills. They tried to flatten it up as much as possible.
Yeah, not just some hill. There was a huge hill that was coming from PCH when you round the corner of these tennis courts right here. And it was a monster. They call it slow hill, but that would kill people.
So a little more of a lead out there for Jason Witt as we take a look back toward the pack in the final lap of this 8-kilometer race, 8,000 meters. It's almost 5 miles.
Mm-hmm. The women will run 6K. Their race, of course, begins at 10 a.m. And they'll run one loop shorter, pretty much.
And so we've had that group of 3 for most of the race now, led by Witt with Causey and Fauble.
Witt might have an advantage here at the end of that last stretch. He's got such long legs, and the ending stretch is all downhill. So if he can just open that up and push it through, he might be able to pass these guys.
And Causey of San Francisco has moved out ahead a little bit. So a big challenge for Witt.
Looks like they're both pressing him pretty hard.
So heading into a tough downhill.
What a great race at the front. We've got the 3 still
So a
together.
3-man race right now. And Fauble looks like he's got a little bit left.
BYU. Eric Causey.
Yeah, he still looks pretty strong for the most part. There he goes. It looks like he might be trying to start his kick already.
Now, Fauble was the runner-up last
And Fauble, last year's runner-up,
Witt was
about a length behind Witt right now. Witt finished 6th last year.
So whoever wins this race is going to have a definite improvement in spot from last year.
So Witt looking strong.
Here come the leaders around
and
the
here
lane.
they come.
Neck and neck, there they are.
Now Scott Fauble of Portland has
Scott Fauble has moved out into the lead, and he started that kick about maybe 25, 30 seconds ago.
And Witt, they're on the final lap.
Can he keep that kick?
And I'm wondering if Fauble's strategy was trying to calculate where to start that kick and get going.
Yeah. They've still got this small little incline, though. This is the last incline before they finish. Once they round this top of the hill, it's all downhill.
And it looks like Fauble benefited from that hill.
He pressed through it, that's for sure. Looks like Witt might be falling back a bit. Fauble took a really long lead.
All of a sudden, Fauble has catapulted out ahead of the other two leaders.
Around these tints is the last straightaway.
Woody Kincaid, third last year in this meet, right up in that top 10 as well.
And there he is. Fauble, can he hold on to it?
From Portland.
And Causey now running second.
Looks like Causey's really trying hard to press it through.
Here come your leaders on the final straight to the finish.
So final sprint to the finish line right here.
They probably got 150 meters to go. The last stretch. Witt still trying to hold on.
And Causey pushing hard. So Fauble and Causey. And Causey with a strong push.
Witt's holding on. He's not too far behind.
Woody Kincaid with a big finish. Tyler Thatcher.
And here they come to the finish.
He's passing him.
And Causey and Witt one final push.
Those long legs, I'm telling you. There he goes. There he goes.
So Witt dropped back, and then he comes back to take it at the end, winning it by a couple of steps.
Fauble right there.
And here comes the rest of the front part of the pack.
Looks like Portland's got a lot in that top 10.
And it's easy to iron out the individuals, finishes. Okay, you're 1 through 10. Where it gets interesting is figuring out the team scoring.
That's right. Like I said, once you get down to the 4th and 5th guys, those are some of the most valuable points for that team.
If your 5th guy finishes 17th as opposed to your 5th guy finishing 57th.
That's right. Those are a lot of points that you add to your score and subtract from others.
And when you look at a lot of these races, it might say I finished 14th and you finished 23rd, and there's a half second between us.
That's right. When there's so many people on the course, sometimes it can be such a small amount of time between each runner.
So we still don't know who the team winner is yet. We do know who the individual top qualifiers are. And right now it's just a matter for teams like you see San Francisco out there and St. Mary's, Gonzaga. It's figuring out where you're going to fit in the big picture. One thing to note, this is a 9-team race. Pacific does not sponsor men's cross country. So they will have a team in the women's race, and they'll have a full 10 teams in the women's event, but only 9 here on the men's side. Santa Clara and St. Mary's, a couple of Bay Area rivals, chugging it out. And underneath those actually blue strips of AstroTurf is the timing and scoring equipment.
That's right.
So those chips in the shoes say, okay, you finished here, you finished there.
And they've got 2 timers to keep it accurate, so they're able to compare which chip goes across which line.
And one of the runners diving across. They do have medical personnel at the finish. Sometimes there are runners, they just cramp up.
When you run to the fullest extent of your body, pretty exhausted to the point of not even able to walk.
I saw one of the athletes this morning in the hotel with a gallon-sized bottle of water, just walking around drinking it.
Dehydration can sneak up on you in a race like this whenever you got to keep the fluids going days before you even run. A lot of runners will be dehydrated before they even start a race, not knowing that they're dehydrated.
And let's head to the finish line. Amanda Blackwell is standing with this year's champion.
Hey guys, I've got the winner, Jason Witt, with me. Congratulations. You put your arms up in the air as you crossed that finish line. What was going through your mind?
Well, with about 1,000 to go, I felt like I was losing my energy, and I dropped back to third, and they were pulling away. And so it was excitement and shock and everything all in one. So yeah, it was just excitement.
And you did have the lead for most of the race, and then you lost it, but you pulled back ahead. What was your strategy out there?
Well, the strategy was to execute a plan that would help our team, give our team the best chance of winning, and we felt that would be with a solid, hard pace. And so Thatcher kind of took charge the first couple laps, and so I just made sure that the pace was hard so we could continue to give our team the best chance.
Finally, how do you take this momentum into regionals?
Well, I'm going to be taking it into nationals. Regionals, we're going to try to conserve as much energy as possible, but the confidence that this gives me to be shoot for an All-American finish and even higher at nationals is a lot of confidence.
All right, Jason Witt, your individual winner. I'll send it back to you guys.
Thank you.
Great work, Amanda, down there at the finish line as we look at the course, and runners are starting to finish up, and we will step away for a break. We'll bring you back to Malibu for more of the 2013 West Coast Conference Cross Country Championships, including our team standings after this on the W.TV.
The number one team in the country is the king of the West Coast Conference.
It's been a fun start to our season, and I'm happy with where we're at right now.
The W.TV, the energy of the West Coast Conference on your browser, smartphone, and tablet. All the action, anytime, anywhere.
We give back as much as we receive to our teammates, our coaches, to our fans, and to our sports, to our teachers, our schools, and our communities. Giving back, it isn't just something we do, it's who we are.
That's our office view today here in Malibu, the beautiful cliffs overlooking the Pacific, and a great performance today by the Brigham Young Cougars. They're the champions in the team category in the men's championships. Let's go to Amanda Blackwell. She's with our champs.
All right, guys, I've got BYU, the champions, head coach Ed Eyestone. Congratulations, guys. First of all, tell me about how it feels to be champions of the West Coast Conference once again.
It's nice. You know, we won it 2 years ago, and we had a really epic battle last year with Portland, determined by 1 point, which they beat us, and so we came back and we wanted to do well. I think we executed our plan very well. We wanted to keep it a serious, hard pace from the get-go. Team captain Tyler Thatcher took it out, put the pressure on, put everybody in a world of hurt, and then we just finished up and ran according to plan. So I'm really quintessential team performance. So for a win today.
How proud are you of your team after last year just barely getting edged out by Portland, and to come back and show this strong showing once again here today?
Well, I was proud of the team last year, too. I mean, they gave it their all and just came up a little bit short. And Portland is a great team, has an amazing dynasty, and is a top 10 nationally ranked team. So we knew we had our work cut out for us. But I'm proud of the ways that the guys rallied, just put the hurt on early, and then executed their plan. And that's how you kind of draw it up, diagram it out, and they executed the plan, and really an overall great team performance.
Well, we've heard from Jason Witt, the champion, so I'll ask a few other runners. What did you think of that course out there today? How was it running out here in Malibu with that ocean scenic?
Well, we came across the mountains and we saw the course, and it was kind of unbelievable, to be honest. It was beautiful. We knew it was going to be a little bit warmer than Provo as well, so we caught in, and it was 5 laps as well with a long hill on the other side and the backside. So we knew it was going to be a challenging course, but a fast one as well. So we were really pleased with the weather, the course, the grass, everything was perfect.
And I know you guys very excited to go on to regionals and then nationals. I'll come over here to you guys. You're taller than me, so I can stand in front of you. But tell me a little bit about how you take momentum into this next step for you guys.
Well, the next 2 races are regionals and nationals, and having this conference championship is just going to boost our confidence, knowing that we are a top team at nationals and we're contenders, and that we can run with the best in the nation.
All right, well, congratulations, Cougars, and I will send it back up to you guys.
All right, Amanda, thanks for that visit down at the finish line. BYU taking home some hardware this afternoon in Malibu. We're back to Malibu after this, the 2013 WCC Cross Country Championships on the W.TV.
Number 1 team in the country is the king of the West Coast Conference.
It's been a fun start to our season, and I'm happy with where we're at right now.
The W.TV, the energy of the West Coast Conference on your browser, smartphone, and tablet. All the action, anytime, anywhere.
We give back as much as we receive. To our teammates, our coaches, to our fans, and to our sports, to our teachers, our schools, and our communities. Giving back, it isn't just something we do, it's who we are.
The view out toward the Pacific here in Malibu, the 2013 WCC Cross Country Championships. We're getting ready for the women's race. George Devine, Seth Allison back with you at Pepperdine University, campus that moved here in the early 1970s, and just a beautiful place. Do they actually go to class here, or they just admire it?
That's the joke that everyone says. Did you go to the beach or did you go to class? And I'd say I went to the beach a lot.
And the BYU Cougars took first in the men with 30 points, and a little wider gap than we saw last year. Portland in second, Loyola Marymount, Gonzaga, and San Francisco rounding out the top five. So those are your men's standings. As we switch our attention to the women's race, and San Francisco trying to win its fifth WCC championship in a row, trying to build its own dynasty here this morning.
That's right. Let's see if they can do as big as the Portland's 32 run.
And you take a look at Eva Kirchova. Eva is just an incredible athlete. She was the winner last year in Portland, and she is just an amazing runner.
She is. She's a Czech Republic runner, a senior this year, redshirted.
They're led this year by Brigitte Dahlberg. She's a graduate
got some pretty amazing PRs.
And Kirchova just had a great finish last year up in Portland. She's placed in a number of big meets this year. So last year she won it with a time of 20:31.56. So we had a pretty good finish in the women last year. Top five runners all finished within about 4 seconds of one another.
Brigitte Dahlberg is another awesome runner from San Francisco who will be competing this year, and a graduate student actually from Boston College who transferred over to San Fran's graduate program.
And San Francisco has really become a magnet for cross-country talent, as you see the Dons there in box number 3. Again, a wide starting line here. It's going to be a little tighter on the women's side because there are 10 teams in this race. Remember, on the men's side, we only saw 9 because Pacific does not sponsor men's cross-country. But everybody has a dog in the fight here on the women's side.
Certainly does.
And you see the man with the starting flag moving out toward the middle. He will get out of the way quickly.
Doesn't want to be run over by a bunch of ladies.
So we're waiting for the pistol to fire here in Malibu. Any difference on this course? The men have run on it now. It's kind of been worn down a little bit. Does that make it easier or harder?
I'm sure the grass is a bit stiffer now, I'd imagine. Other than the 2,000 kilometer difference, the only difference quick is the first loop right there at the turning that corner. They're not going to go up the Theme Tower Hill. Instead, they'll go right to the pond and go around that. And then it goes right back to the regular course. Only 4 loops rather than 5 loops from the men's course. But all in all, about the same.
6,000 meters between now and our champion.
That's right.
Take a look at the wide starting line here at Malibu. It's the first time in a generation that the championships have been held in Southern California, and you couldn't ask for a better day, a better venue, better weather conditions.
Yep. Malibu sure showed up today.
So a lot of those folks with great views, those houses off in the distance. And you can run into some of your favorite Hollywood celebrities around here.
That's right. I remember going to school here, walking into Ralph's, and just looking at every single person, wondering if they were, are you a celebrity or are you just getting food? Okay, you're just getting food. All right.
Hey, celebrities got to eat too.
That's right.
And we're ready for the start. And there's the gun, and here we go. The 2013 Women's WCC Cross Country Championships underway in Malibu. And a furious dash out toward the front. San Francisco and Loyola Marymount, 2 of the favorites, out toward the front in the beginning.
You can pick out Kirchova already by her height.
And Kirchova is 6'1". And when you look at her, you say she's all legs.
She's a powerhouse, a mitochondria of the cross-country world.
And the crowd even bigger than it was toward the end of the men's race.
Starting to move together.
Yeah, a couple other runners to talk about. Grace Graham-Zamudio's had some good times this year. She ran this course well during the WCC preview back in September. And in fact, she was the WCC Cross Country Runner of the Month on the women's side back in September.
She was Miss September. She was the WCC.
And then Portland has, had some good runs over the years. Laura Hottenrott, one of their better runners. BYU's Natalie Shields is somebody to watch. Cherie Shea of Loyola Marymount, just some of the people we're going to keep an eye on as the pack separates.
Lystag Tansley as well, returning from Portland. Portland's got 4 of the top 5 returning from last year's cross-country race.
Before San Francisco was a dominant program in this conference, Portland had a great run on the women's side.
Certainly did.
LMU is also ranked number 12.
Last year, San Francisco won the race with 25 points. Portland second at 53. BYU third at 85. And then Gonzaga and Loyola Marymount rounded out the top 5 with Santa Clara, San Diego, St. Mary's, and Pepperdine filling out the bottom tier. So right now we're kind of seeing that early race. They're trying to figure out what their strategy is and how to go from here.
The West Region race in Sacramento to try and qualify.
Looks like San Fran's packed up there at the front. They've got a lot of their runners right close.
Almost the same strategy you saw with the BYU men in the earlier race.
That's right. They kind of kept it together, having their team captain kind of press the entire group up there at the front.
When you get out in one of these races, how much talking is there among the teammates? Or do you kind of, communicate through a sixth sense? How do you pull it off?
Most of the time you try to conserve as much energy as you possibly can, so any chit-chat is not part of the plan. But of course, on occasion, there's an encouragement or two, or a, come on, let's go. We had the AO waves.
Because, if you're trying to talk strategy, your opponents are right there to hear, even if you're whispering.
That's right. Most of the only things that they hear are going to be some kind of a shoulder bump or something.
Setting that lead group. Brigitte Dahlberg.
So Brigitte Dahlberg is out toward the front.
She's led San Francisco all year. She's in the lead at this point.
And let's check in with our partner on the course, Amanda Blackwell.
So one thing you guys have talked a lot about was that preview meet back in September. I was at that meet, and a lot of these runners, especially the women, got personal records on this course. It's a very fast course, which we saw with the men. One issue at the preview race in September was over by that pond. It got a little bit slippery. We didn't see any issues with that with the men, but that's one thing to watch out for on this women's race. Just by that pond area, if it gets it all slippery, that could be an issue for some of these women, guys.
Amanda, great checking in with you as we see the front of the course. And Dahlberg out there, and then you take a look in the back and you see Kirkova back about 5 from the front. She's the very tall lady in the middle, right in the middle of your screen. So San Francisco, a lot of green and gold up at the front for the Dons.
At this point,
as the runners come by our broadcast position, up toward the top of the course, starting line area. And we're starting to see some separation now, Seth.
They are starting to make their place in the course and the race. We'll see if San Fran can still pack run. They've got their top 5 still together.
And again, the question is, how long can they hold it together?
Right now, San Francisco has their top 5.
Pack running is a huge strategy in cross country because if you get those people right after each other consecutively, they can press somebody else's score back so far. Every runner that's right behind another is actually taking a point off of their score and giving another point to another team, or 2 or 3, depending on where you are in that consecutive order.
They've hit one of our uphill segments down there by Malibu Canyon Road.
This will be the first time they're actually going up to the theme tower since they skipped that the first loop. It's one of the longer uphills.
You know, something to note, one of the things that I think helps the BYU men as it helps the San Francisco women, they both train in hilly cities.
That's right. That can be a huge advantage when you're running a cross-country race.
I mean, on the San Francisco campus, for example, they've got a part of the campus called Lone Mountain, which is about a 10-story climb from the street below it, and they have a lot of classes up there.
I'd imagine running anywhere in San Francisco, you're going to get a hill workout.
And then obviously Provo is pressed right up against the Wasatch Mountains in Utah, and kind of the climb gets steep once you hit the BYU campus and you come up from Interstate 15. And here at Pepperdine, again, a very hilly campus.
Right, right. We're completely nestled into the Santa Monica Mountains, so it's very rare that you find any flat surface.
And St. Mary is also located in a hilly part of the East Bay Hills of the Bay Area, so a lot of these athletes, especially the Bay Area schools, get a lot of chances to train on hills.
They're rounding that corner, going around the lake now. Or what's left of a lake, I guess you could say.
Yeah, we mentioned this earlier. There's not been much moisture, precipitation in California the last few months. And in fact, they're starting to use the D word around here, drought.
No. Let's hope the runners aren't in a drought. They've got to be very hydrated for what seems to be a pretty warm day today.
Yeah, and it's probably, a few degrees warmer than it was when the teams first got here.
Certainly did warm up a little bit.
BYU 49.
So we see the leader starting to separate from the rest of the crowd.
Portland 84. So
Gonzaga.
San Francisco, BYU, Loyola.
So San Francisco, Brigham Young, and Loyola Marymount, the top three in the standings right now. And that is, again, recorded by the chips the runners wear on their shoes as they pass the different scoring equipment. I wonder if anybody's lost a shoe yet.
Let's hope not.
Well, the one thing, if you do lose your shoe and you've got the tag on it, there we see the standings so far, San Francisco, and then a big gap to Brigham Young and then to LMU.
That is huge. It's that pack running again. They've got so many people up there in the top 10. There's no wonder there's such a huge gap.
And again, San Francisco looking for its 5th championship in a row. Brigitte Dahlberg out there toward the front. And Lauren Hottenrott for Portland out toward the front. She's a native of Germany. Finished in the top 6 last year.
For the Pilots. Running in second is Brigitte Dahlberg.
So Dahlberg running second.
San Francisco.
And you see this hill. I think this hill is really challenging these runners.
It can be a depressing hill, that's for sure. Once you round that corner, you're like, got to get back up this thing. Not to mention it's full of sand right now.
And it's pretty beaten up. Now we've had several laps go over it in a couple races.
Right. You get pretty slippery.
Hottenrott and Dahlberg out there in the front, almost neck and neck. And then you've got that next group of 5. Graham Zamudio's in that group.
Kirkova's in that group.
Yeah, and those are 2 of the best runners in this conference.
Brigitte Dahlberg.
I can't help but think Kirkova might be pulling it back, getting ready for regionals and nationals. Might not be putting it all out there today.
Yeah, regionals in a couple of weeks in Sacramento. They run on a golf course along the American River, and then Terre Haute, Indiana for the national championships.
Again, your leader is Laura Hottenrott, Freitag, Portland.
So San Francisco with the team lead. Hottenrott with the individual lead for Portland.
And she's only a sophomore this year, Hottenrott.
They were very impressed with her last year in Portland.
I can imagine a freshman running so well.
And to do it on their home course, too.
Right.
Now, is there a home course advantage? I mean, Pepperdine today, not a team that's expected to be one of the contenders for the title, but in terms of looking at personal records, looking at team standings.
Certainly. I'm a huge advocate for home team advantage. I think I ran mile repeats on this course over and over and over again up that theme tower hill. You get used to that, and you know when you got to drive, you know when you've got to kick. And that's just, that's great when you're on a course like this and you're trying to get psyched out and ready to race. To have that muscle memory already ready to go is a huge advantage.
Yeah, I know Katie Engel is one of the top Pepperdine runners, and they're hoping to get a big run from her today. She placed really well in the Bronco Invitational up at Santa Clara a few weeks ago. Placed in the top 20.
Haley seems to be pushing it today very well.
Remember, it's a 6K race, 6,000 meters for the women.
They've got about 2 more laps to go around this. They're on their second theme tower.
Let's give you the updated team scores through 2 loops.
So they've gone through 2 loops now.
Leading with 36 points.
San Francisco in the lead.
With 56.
Brigham Young.
Portland is now
and Portland third in the team standings.
Points, and Loyola
wow.
Marymount is in 4th with 77.
And Loyola Marymount in 4th.
Remember, the low score wins. And right now,
San Francisco a wide gap out there on the front.
So now it's a big race between who gets second place, Portland or BYU. Last year, Portland beat out BYU. This year, BYU is ahead.
77.
So we're really starting to see some wide gaps open up in about that first 14, 15 runners.
I feel like that's a little different in the women's races as it is in the men's. The gaps start to get a lot larger in between that, that first 15 runners. There can be huge gaps in between.
That's one of the reasons why on our broadcast we don't give you the team standings right away, because sometimes when you're figuring out who's running in 83rd place, that figures out who's finishing in the top 5 as a team. And there are still people on the course, a few minutes after the leaders finish.
Right.
And you got to sort it all out.
Even the 6th and 7th runners, a lot of people don't know, actually count for team placing, which you get your 5 runners in. That counts as your team score, but then that 6th and 7th are considered pushers, and they can push other team scores even farther down. So they add another 2 points onto that team. So they're very valuable, even though a lot of people think only the first 5 actually count.
Taking a look at the front. And Hot and Rod of Portland. And Kirkova making her move toward the front, towering over Grace Graham-Zamudio.
There she goes.
Be interesting to see what happens on this incline. Looks like Dahlberg might be tiring a little bit. There are leaders. Hot and Rot and Dahlberg.
Neck and neck, there they are.
That looks like a low gear hill.
Certainly is. It's kind of one you got to put your chin down and just take it.
I see that hill, I think about my old Volkswagen, and I think it might not make it.
That's right.
Long since retired.
It is a spirit killer.
And Dahlberg right behind Hot and Rot and Graham-Zamudio and Kirkova.
She seems to be pushing it up.
You just wait watching Kirkova in the back of that line right there. I think you just wait for those big legs to kick in.
We'll see what changes on this downhill. She can open up those strides and use those long legs to her advantage.
We just saw Dahlberg take a look backwards saying, Eva, where are you?
Huh.
8th is Curl of San Francisco. 9th is Harrison of BYU. 10th is
we've talked about it. San Francisco is looking for its 5th straight victory in this event. And I think that would qualify them as a dynasty. I mean, you think about it in college sports, you're on about a 4 or 5 year turnaround. You're going to get fresh inventory of athletes every 4 to 5 years. It's not like you can sign your superstar to a 10-year deal.
Right, and a lot of people from San Francisco actually have won those races. They're seniors this year, and they're going to be they have contributed every year in those winning.
Looking back toward the bulk of the pack, and we're really starting to see that separation you talked about, Seth. Down there toward the front. And Hottenrott slipped into second. Looks like Kirkova has come out and challenged the pole. Now, there's a great video that's posted on the San Francisco website about Kirkova, talking about how she got into running when she was about 5 or 6 years old in her grandmother's backyard in the Czech Republic. And she used to tie a red flag on top of a tree. And her grandmother said, "What's the red flag for?" She said, "It's the Olympic flame." And that's her goal.
From an early age, she knew it. And you can see that drive within her. You can see she's very confident. She's got the power. She can move.
So San Francisco with 37 points, still dominating.
And here's how the teams are looking so far. San Francisco with a healthy lead. BYU in second. And that might be where the competition is between BYU and Portland.
Right there, very, very close.
BYU currently ahead of Portland with 1 lap to go.
I mean, that in theory could be a few steps.
That again is the race for
certainly.
So 1 lap to go as our leaders.
They've gotten over the hardest part so far, that climb up theme tower, and now they're going to turn this corner. It's a slight downhill around the lake and then a slight uphill. And it's full downhill into the finish.
Hottenrott back into the lead. Getting pushed, though.
So who will be the individual
by
champion?
Kirkova.
Right now up front, Laura Hottenrott-Freitag was 6th last year for Portland. She's wearing bib 188.
Get a good look at them there around the lake.
And she is looking to move up 5 places from last year.
She definitely made that separation.
Hottenrott finished in the top 10 last year. Kirkova, last year's champion. Looked very strong at the end of running a very muddy course. And Hottenrott handling those hills well.
And Laura Hottenrott-Freitag has opened up a little lead over Dahlberg of San
And
Francisco.
Dahlberg up there toward the front, too.
Looks like Gina Paletta of Portland has moved into the 3rd position.
That looks like Kirkova right there.
Our leader, Laura Hottenrott-Freitag of Portland.
And if Kirkova's going to make her move, is now the time to do it?
It certainly is, I would imagine. She's only got a little more to go before she turns the corner, and it's that last straightaway.
Dahlberg running 2nd.
You can only make up so much time.
Running 3rd for Portland. 4th is Graham Zamudio of LMU. 5th
So
is Shea
Portland
of
with 2 of
LMU.
the top 4 runners right now in the race.
6th is Tiuri
But
of
San Francisco with the team advantage.
7th is Kirkova of San Francisco. 8th
Dahlberg has moved out ahead.
But Dahlberg's making a distance, too. She started her kick, and she's relentless.
is
Look at that gap.
I think that's the widest gap we've seen today.
Can she hold it through the straightaway, though? That's the question.
I think out wider as we head toward the final straightaway back here to the finish line area. Then it's straight down the hill to the finish.
Passing the tents now.
running in 12th.
Looks like the gap's a little bit shorter. Can she hold it? Oh, looking back. She knows they're right behind her.
And we see Hottenrott with a push.
There she goes. She's got a little left in her.
Hot on the tail. Dahlberg trying to hold on to that lead, but Hottenrott has a little bit more left.
Looks like Gina's making her way through as well. Can she get it?
And Dahlberg looks spent right now.
Certainly does.
She looks like she's got another push, though.
Is she gonna?
Hitting the hill.
Grace Graham-Zamudio running in 5th right now for the Lions.
So here we come to the finish. And it's a 2-runner race.
She passed her again. This is just a back and forth, back and forth.
And Dahlberg with a lot of space behind her. And Dahlberg of San Francisco is going to win the individual title.
Then Curl, Shields.
So a good duel at the end.
That was fantastic.
As we see the rest of the course, and now you start to get, we've had the top 5 to 10 have crossed the finish line. Now we're trying to figure out those team standings, and there's still a lot to be decided on the course.
Certainly is. There was an LMU that just came in.
LMU got a great run today. Had a Grace Graham-Zamudio.
BYU had a couple runners just now.
And the real competition is going to be between Portland and BYU for second in terms of the scoring. And some of these runners just look exhausted as they've laid it all out on the course, hitting the finish line.
They had a lot to run for, Portland and BYU. Struggling to see who can make it out on top. Every runner matters in this kind of a race.
You know, and the one thing about the cross country championships, when they do the all conference, it goes by your time. It's not like basketball or baseball or volleyball where the coaches vote on it and there's controversy.
It's true.
Here it's you and the clock.
That's one of the best things I love about this sport is that when it comes down to it, it's the amount of effort, it's the amount of time you spend in your sport that makes you who you are. It's your results, your race. It's no referee, it's no judge, no one telling you what they think you did. It's the proof's in the pudding. You put in the time, you put in the hours, you put in the miles, you get the results.
And this is a sport where you can really train all year, and you don't need to have a team to. You don't have to worry about having a team to practice with.
But the big thing that's different between track and cross country is that running is very much an individual sport, but cross country is such a team effort. Every single person matters, and you've got strategies like pack running, you've got team running, you've got different ways that you use, your teammates as part of this sport. It is really a team sport, contrary to popular belief. Track, on the other hand, sometimes can be, very much an individual kind of a sport.
And then for the coaches to figure out who's going to fit best in a particular race, who's going to work the best together. And we talked about kind of that silent communication and keeping your game plan through along the entire course.
Certainly. There's a lot of strategy that not many people actually know goes through this.
Want to thank the folks here at Pepperdine. They have been incredible hosts today. Every time I come to this campus, I get this feeling like I'm on a Pacific island.
That's right.
And it's a very comforting, very calm place. And you're not that far from the hustle and bustle of Los Angeles.
It's true, it's true. A lot of people come out here to relax. It's a wonderful place to study and run.
And plenty of hills to train on.
It's true. The Santa Monica Mountains are filled with courses. I probably run every trail up there 100 times.
And they're steep.
Some of them are pretty steep and dangerous.
Just a beautiful part of California as you see the vista behind our course here at Alumni Field. And the runners filing in. Still a few left on the course. And the trick right now is finishing and getting your team scores together. So as the runners, the frequency is decreased crossing the finish line.
That's right.
Now, there are a lot of people, speaking of running and cross country, a lot of people getting ready for the big New York Marathon tomorrow.
That's right. it's coming up. And a train for a marathon is a lot like a cross-country race. When you've got all of those miles, you've got to put in the amount of miles and amount of training. They're completely different races, obviously, but when it comes down to it, in the beginning of your summer training to get to this point in October, you've got to put in that long mileage, that long amount of just running time to be able to have that endurance all throughout to make it all the way to the fall.
And let's go down to the finish line where Amanda Blackwell is standing by with today's winner.
Thanks, guys. I've got Brigitte Dahlberg, who just crossed the finish line first in this race. Tell me about that moment when you crossed the finish line. What's going through your mind?
It was a pretty tough course, and the end straightaway was quite a fight with the girl from Portland. So I was glad to be finished with the race, and it was exciting.
And you were able to pull away kind of down the stretch there. What was your strategy on this race?
Well, I was just trying to hang off the top person. Just go from there. I mean, sometimes I was in front and I didn't really want to be, but stuff happens, so.
Last question, how do you take the momentum from this race forward into regionals, nationals, everything that comes next for you?
I just think our team had a great performance today and nothing stops momentum, so it's a great start before regionals.
All right, thanks so much. Brigitte Dahlberg, the winner of today's Women's Cross Country Championship race. Guys, back to you.
All right, thanks, Amanda. Thanks, Brigitte, for joining us. And we're going to come back with more from Malibu, the 2013 WCC Women's Cross Country Championships, coming your way on the W.TV.
The number one team in the country is the king of the West Coast Conference.
It's been a fun start to our season, and I'm happy with where we're at right now.
The W.TV, the energy of the West Coast Conference on your browser, smartphone, and tablet. All the action, anytime, anywhere.
We give back as much as we receive to our teammates, our coaches, to our fans, and to our sports, to our teachers, our schools, and our communities. Giving back, it isn't just something we do, it's who we are.
Momentarily, and then LMU fourth with 79 points. The winner was Brigitte Dahlberg. Her time today, 20:54.84. We'll round that up to 20:55, and that'll be the official winning time for the senior, the graduate student at the University of San Francisco, Brigitte Dahlberg. She's led San Francisco all year. She led them today to the championship, and she will be one of the top runners going into the West Region Meet in 2 weeks in Sacramento.
And the scene at the finish line here in Malibu, the 2013 WCC Cross Country Championships. Well, let's check out what Amanda Blackwell has to show us. The San Francisco Dons, the 2013 champions.
Thanks, guys. I've got the 5-time-in-a-row champions right here with me, head coach Helen Lehman-Winters and the rest of her team. Congratulations, first of all, on your win. How proud are you of your team for this 5th straight championship?
I mean, obviously it's really exciting. We came into the championships knowing that this was a really important meet for us. But, yeah, I mean, it's awesome. And we have a great group here. We have 2 members, Eva and Sophie, who've been on all 5 teams. And this is a 4th one for Maor and Kate. As well. This is her 3rd, and then we've got some newcomers, and yeah, it's awesome. They did a great job today.
What was the strategy coming in today, and how well do you feel like they executed it out there today?
I mean, actually, I think there was some great individual running and team running behind us by other West Coast Conference schools, and a great battle there. And it's a fast course, and it went out very fast. Probably a little bit when you're on a course like this, it kind of lets everybody in the race, and probably wasn't our prettiest team performance, but it didn't need to be as we get ready for the region meet and the national meet.
And I'll come over here to Eva Kirchova. Tell me a little bit about this course and just the heat, the conditions out there. What was it like running out there? It's a pretty warm day.
So as Coach Helen says, that it wasn't the prettiest performance, so I would say that I feel like this from my side. But I learned, and I'm also happy for the team performance, and the 5th title is amazing. So this is fine, and we are happy for it.
All right, last question for you. Just how do you take the momentum of this win into regionals, nationals, and everything you guys will be doing, competing in further in the season?
Yeah, well, I think mainly we've learned from the past couple years that this is a great meet to go off of and really gain momentum for regionals. And we've also learned in the past couple years that regionals is the big thing, and we can't take this success for granted at all and really move forward. I think this year was definitely very competitive, especially like Helen was saying on the individual basis. It's just really exciting that the WCC is continuing to grow in level and competition and really be recognized nationally. So we're excited.
All right, guys, that is your West Coast Conference champion, it's University of San Francisco Dons. Back up to you.
Great work today, Amanda, down at the finish line. We'll be back with more. There's the championship hardware, the 2013 WCC Cross Country Championships, right here on the W.TV.
Number 1 team in the country is the king of the West Coast Conference.
It's been a fun start to our season, and I'm happy with where we're at right now.
The W.TV, the energy of the West Coast Conference on your browser, smartphone, and tablet. All the action, anytime, anywhere.
We give back as much as we receive. To our teammates, our coaches, to our fans, and to our sports, to our teachers, our schools, and our communities. Giving back, it isn't just something we do, it's who we are.
Finishing 9th was St. Mary's with 266, and Pacific finished 10th with 300 points. Again, San Francisco, the winning team, 39 points, a tie for second that finds Portland getting the 2nd place award, and BYU finishing 3rd, both with 62 points.
We couldn't ask for a better office view today here at Malibu. The 2013 WCC Cross Country Championships. San Francisco winning it on the women's side after BYU took the men's event here at Pepperdine University. George Devine, Seth Allison back with you. There are the women's standings. There was a tie between BYU and Portland for second. Portland wins the tiebreaker. Both teams finishing behind San Francisco. Then Loyola Marymount, Gonzaga. And Seth, your thoughts on the race?
It was a pretty close race between those two second-place teams. It was we didn't know who was going to be winning. And it was crazy how it ended up being a tie. They look at the top 5 finishers to be able to do that tiebreaker and who actually finished earlier on in the race to be able to break that time.
So there you see the women's standing. San Francisco 5 straight West Coast Conference championships now at this meet. A dynasty.
A dynasty has been created, that's for sure.
So that's our final look here at the cross-country course here at Pepperdine in Malibu. Thanks to the folks at Pepperdine for hosting this event as San Francisco takes the women's championship, BYU the men's championship. For my broadcast partners, Seth Allison and Amanda Blackwell, I'm George Devine saying so long from Malibu, California. To watch this entire championship on replay as well as upcoming WCC events, log on to the W.TV powered by Campus Insiders. This has been an exclusive presentation of the West Coast Conference on the W.TV. Goodbye, everybody.